This is WorldBox, a game where you simulate a civilization. And today we're watching a simulation where a world is broken up into 4 different groups, and each group follows a different ideology. And after years and years of building up their civilization, the walls get torn down, and the last civilization standing wins.
Let's see what happens when 4 political ideologies fight for world domination. For this video, we'll be using a map divided into 4 perfectly equal quadrants, each assigned a different biome to help us tell them apart more easily. In the grassland biome, we'll place 2 humans with the trait, or rather the ideology, of capitalism.
Now, capitalism is more or less the way that America works. It's a system where generally you receive what you provide to your society. So, for example, if you work a very difficult job that not many people can do, generally, you will receive a lot more money for that. But if you don't work at all and provide nothing to your society, then you won't receive much, if anything. Now, that's not 100% how America works. It is kind of a hybrid system. Like, we do have welfare systems, and we do have, for example, police. That follows more of a socialist system where people pay taxes in order to fund the police. Same thing with firefighters, for example, and school systems. But generally, America is a capitalist country.
Then we'll head over to the savannah, where we'll place 2 more humans, this time with a communist ideology.
And communism is the literal complete opposite. This is where the government owns everything. In a capitalist society, the government tends to be relatively small. Now, that's not entirely the case with America anymore, as times have changed and the government has been growing and growing. But in a communistic society, the government owns everything. There is no private property. You literally cannot own your own house. You don't own anything at all. Everything is completely shared.
Next, we move on to the jungle biome, where we'll once again add 2 humans, turning them into anarchists.
I'm sorry that I'm explaining all these. That might get annoying, but I don't think that he does. But anyway, an anarchist is a society that doesn't follow anything. Everybody kind of just does whatever they want.
And finally, we head to the permafrost biome, where we'll place 2 humans with the ideology of duck followers.
Now, duck followers, I'm assuming he means a cult, where you have a cult-like following, where you just have one person in charge and everybody follows that person, essentially, no matter what they say or do or think. That is your leader.
If you know what I mean. Once all the groups are in place, we hit play and let them start exploring their surroundings. Some are already getting to work on their first structure, most likely a campfire, while we go ahead and customize and rename each kingdom for easier tracking. The capitalists get off to a quick start, building a campfire and 2 tents, though.
To be honest with you, I think capitalists are going to win this thing. Generally, and I feel like I'm walking on eggshells here because I don't want to say things that make people angry, but at the same time, like, I'm just going to be me. I'm just going to tell you how I feel. I believe that capitalism is the best system to run a civilization. Not through and through, though. Like, I do believe that there should be some socialistic parts and systems in place to help people in need. But overall, I do think that capitalism works best. And that is because it incentivizes people in the civilization to provide and to be efficient. And most importantly, to be innovative.
One is still under construction. The communists are basically at the same stage. The duck followers are a bit ahead. They already have 3 houses, one of which has been upgraded, and they've even laid the foundation for a 4th. The anarchists, on the other hand, are slightly behind in terms of infrastructure. But when it comes to population, they're leading the pack, having already had 4 children.
Low-key, that does make a little bit of sense. They're popping babies out left and right and don't even really have many houses because there's no government. They have no rules. Like, they don't have to do anything. So then why not just go make some babies? You know, why not?
Making them the most fertile group so far. After 20 years, here's how things are looking. In terms of territory, all 4 ideologies are more or less evenly matched, except for the duck followers. Not only have they upgraded almost all their homes and built a palace for their leader, but they've also founded a second village, putting them ahead in terms of territorial expansion.
One thing that is going to be really important for those duck followers or cult followers is if they have a really strong leader. Now, I don't believe in cults. I think following one person and believing every single thing that they say and living your life in the way that somebody else wants you to and tells you to is a very dangerous way to live. Overall, I don't really think it's a good way to live, to be in a cult. However, if your cult leader is freaking awesome and he's a fantastic leader and he's really smart and he's actually a good dude who just like wants the best for everybody and there's in his civilization, I could see it working.
The anarchists, unsurprisingly, don't have any palaces, and several of their homes are still unupgraded, putting them a step behind
that's how the communism should be too,
The capitalists are somewhere in the middle. They've got a decent number of houses, some still unupgraded, but they do have a palace palace and have just founded a second village. And without a doubt, the most advanced group right now seems to be the communists. Their second village is far more developed than the others. In a very short time, they went from having nothing to building a new settlement, complete with multiple houses inside it.
Now that does surprise me, I can't lie. I thought the communists would do pretty poor. Maybe what's happening here is that since they're still in the beginning stages, they're in like their essential part of life where like they have to build houses. Everybody has to work together. They have to all get food together. And so in the beginning, it's like the honeymoon stage where it's like everybody wants to work for the greater good of their civilization. However, I certainly think that if you take that aspect out of it, as far as production in society and advancements, that's the best way to do it.
Just hit the 100-year mark since the start of the experiment, and each ideology now occupies almost all of its territory, though there are still a few unclaimed patches here and there. When it comes to total population, the capitalists are currently in the lead. They also have more soldiers than any other group.
That actually does surprise me that like capitalism has the most people too, because I feel like generally like if your entire society is structured around working harder to make more money and buy that bigger house and buy that new car, which is, you know, a big idea of what the American dream is, then a lot of times I feel like you could take a step back from family because you just start focusing only on your job and your career. So like it honestly surprised me a little bit that they have so many people in their civilization as opposed to just like having less people but better quality of living.
As for the others, they're all pretty evenly matched in both civilian and military population. Looking at their development, the anarchists still haven't built a single palace.
That makes sense.
But they have made significant architectural progress thanks to the construction of several mines and a few windmills. This has allowed them to steadily grow their population. The Duck followers have also made impressive progress in architecture. All of their homes have been upgraded with concrete and reinforced materials, and they've built several military barracks.
Bro, this cult leader actually seems like he's doing a pretty good job. Also, I'm surprised that the anarchists haven't like fought against each other yet and divided up, but he might have that setting turned off in the game.
Across the kingdom, clearly focusing on strengthening their army. Of course, they've also built the basics, mines and windmills. As for the capitalists, I'd say they're the most technologically advanced group so far. They've built a wide variety of structures, upgraded some of their palaces, and
Dude, look at
established
that
numerous
building.
barracks across the land.
I've never seen that building. This one right here, I've literally never seen that building in any WorldBox video ever. Or whatever this is too. I'm telling you, bro, the capitalist society is gonna have the most advanced tech. No questions asked.
That said, there are still plenty of underutilized areas in their territory, and their military still has room to grow. Many of their soldiers are still using pretty primitive weapons. The communists are in a similar place to the Duck followers, but with fewer barracks. However, they do have multiple windmills spread throughout their land. Most of them aren't being fully used just yet, but given their steady growth, I'd say it won't be long before they start taking better advantage of them. As for their military, they're in a situation similar to the capitalists. They've still got a long way to go when it comes to gear and equipment.
Is that a Charizard statue? Hang on a minute. I might turn full communist here. I didn't know that they were like that. I didn't know that they move like that. Hang on a minute. It looks like a Charizard with like Lugia's neck and head.
But hey, it's only been 100 years, so that's not too surprising. Now jumping ahead to year 300, here's the current global situation. The capitalists clearly dominate in terms of overall population with more than 1,200 citizens, far ahead of their closest competitor, the Duck followers, who have just under 800. Militarily, the capitalists are still in first place, though the gap between them and second place isn't quite as large. However, there is a noticeable difference compared to the anarchists and communists, who both have significantly smaller armies. When it comes to progress, the capitalists clearly have the upper hand in technology. Their troops have already started using firearms, although there are still a few squads that aren't armed yet.
Bro, look at this place, bro. Look at the communism and then look at capitalism and look at the difference in like the city. That was insane. Look at this, bro. What I don't understand is why they don't have like pathways connecting the buildings. Dude, there's a whole billboard here. What even is happening? This is by far the most futuristic city I've ever seen in WorldBox. I didn't even know that this was possible.
The communists, for their part, have also begun introducing some modern upgrades, like renovating one of their palaces and starting construction on a few advanced buildings. As for their army, some of their soldiers are now carrying firearms too, although not all of them are equipped just yet. The Duck followers are also in a highly advanced technological stage, not quite as advanced as the capitalists, but definitely ahead of the communists. On top of that, their army is already fully armed with firearms throughout the entire kingdom, showing a clear military focus.
I'm surprised about
that.
The
anarchists, meanwhile, still haven't built any kind of palace, but they've had to set up training barracks to put together an army that can defend their interests.
I'm not gonna lie, the anarchists are gonna get rolled, bro. They have the smallest population. They don't have the best housing or equipment or anything. They don't even have a leader. How are they supposed to go to war if they don't have a leader? You know, you need someone to motivate you and inspire you and organize you to go into war. You can't just run at an army as like headless chicken with no plan. You need to have some sort of structure to attack and defend, for that matter. I think the anarchists are gonna get rolled instantly.
Surprisingly, for how far behind they started, their troops are actually pretty well equipped, putting them in a stronger position than you might expect. That said,
Maybe
they're
I'm
still
wrong.
the only ideology that hasn't modernized any of their buildings. We've now reached the year 1000. At this point, the rankings going into the war are pretty clear. The capitalists hold first place in overall population with more than 1,300 citizens. They're followed by the Duck followers with 800, the communists with 640, and the anarchists in last place with just over 560. However, when it comes to military population, the picture changes a bit. The Duck followers take the top spot, pushing the capitalists down to second. The rest of the rankings stay the same. To kick off the battle, we tear down the wall and hit play so the kingdoms can finally meet. A couple of years later, the first major move happens. The capitalists and anarchists officially form an alliance called the Shadow Conquered. Together, they surpass 2,000 total citizens and are closing in on 800 soldiers.
Wait, they formed an alliance? I guess that maybe makes sense a little bit, because I think generally, like a capitalistic society, there's not too much governance. And then obviously in an anarchist society, there is no governance at all. So maybe they share like some similarities there. I don't know why the capitalists would do that though.
With the alliance now in place, they go straight for the communists. The attack starts on the capitalist border, where their firearm-equipped troops quickly push forward and wipe out the communist forces trying to hold the line. Not long after, the anarchist soldiers join in from the south and move straight into the heart of the communist kingdom. While all this was happening, the Duck followers decided to join the alliance known as the Shadow Conquered.
The communists are cooked.
Although, for now, they didn't seem willing to attack the communists. The capitalists managed to conquer part of communist territory while holding their border. But soon after, the Duck followers broke away from the Shadow Conquered, betraying both the capitalists and the anarchists.
That's messed up,
They joined forces with the communists and eventually declared war on their former allies. They quickly began to retake territory while defending their own kingdom from enemy advances.
Okay, I used to have respect for that cult leader because I thought he was doing a great job leading a civilization to prosperity, but turns out he is a son of a gun. He fake teamed with us, and then once it was good for him, then he switched up on us. He fake teamed with a capitalist, and then once it was good for him, he switched up on him and then backstabbed him.
Unfortunately for the communists, it was already too
late. My God,
the Shadow
GG.
Conquered ended up conquering all of their land.
The communists are
Duck
out.
followers proved their strength by swiftly reclaiming nearby regions and launching a southern attack on the capitalists, catching them completely off guard and taking a significant portion of their land in the process. At this point, both sides controlled almost equal amounts of territory. Even so, the Duck followers pushed forward and invaded what used to be communist land, wiping out anyone they saw as a threat and claiming the area as their own. Shortly after, they went on to conquer all of the anarchist territory. The anarchists weren't entirely wiped out just yet, since they still held a small piece of land that the capitalists had granted them in an attempt to prevent their extinction. However, the Duck followers soon took full control of the former communist.
Dude, was their cult leader just like training them as babies to be warriors? Are these all like Achilles just barbarians? Like, what is going on here? How are they this good? Because their tech was nowhere near as good as the tech of the capitalists. How? Now, I feel like the capitalists will probably have really good defenses though in their home turf, which is where they're backed into now. So who knows if the cult following will be able to take on the capitalists in their hometown.
Effectively confining the capitalists and the remaining anarchists to just the capitalist quadrant. It didn't take long for them to seize that last anarchist area as well, wiping them out completely and leaving the capitalists as the only group still alive. Against all odds, the capitalists managed to take back that same area, and even a part of the former communist territory, but their comeback didn't last long. The Duck followers struck back and recaptured the region once again.
I'm gonna be honest, guys, I'm rooting for the capitalists. I don't know if I made that clear yet, but I'm gonna just say it. I want the capitalists to win. Here we go.
Determined to reclaim what once was theirs, the capitalists began destroying buildings they had originally constructed centuries earlier, all in an effort to retake that strategic land. The war quickly turned into a back-and-forth struggle. Whenever the the capitalists recovered part of the territory, the duck followers would counterattack and take it right back.
Come on, boys.
And vice versa.
Hold
and
strong.
So the war dragged on for several years, with constant shifts in control. Just as the capitalists were getting ready to take over a large portion of the map, the duck followers, unsurprisingly, managed to take it back. Still, while the capitalists used that offensive as a distraction, they successfully conquered the entire former communist quadrant.
Okay.
But of course, it didn't take long for the duck followers to reclaim part of that land as well. The war continued for several years, until finally, nearly 100 years of continuous conflict had passed.
It's over now.
During
It's gotta
that
be over.
time, the capitalists slowly gained ground, conquering key regions until they managed to confine the duck followers to a small portion of their original territory. With almost no army left, the duck followers still found ways to keep fighting, using fear as their primary weapon. Their population had already dropped below 100, and they had lost their capital. And yet, incredibly, with just a handful of survivors, they managed to conquer a large section of former communist land. But in the end, it was impossible for them to withstand the constant siege from the capitalists, who, with superior numbers, better territory, and more advanced technology, ended up fully conquering the duck followers. And now, after more than 100 years of war, we finally have a winner.
And there you have it. The capitalists prevail. That is how I thought it would go, so the fact that it went that way makes me feel good. But it also makes me feel like WorldBox is just spot on with almost every single one of their simulations. And if you guys enjoyed this video and want to watch other hypotheticals in WorldBox, make sure to leave a like and click on this video right here.